Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to break down a pretty sharp critique of a film that the source calls Dhurandhar. But this isn't your typical film review. The source uses this really unique, almost theatrical way to build its case against what it considers modern day propaganda. So let's just dive right in and see how they do it.
So, to make its point about the real film, the source starts by asking us to imagine a completely fake one. It's actually a pretty clever setup because it's designed to act like a mirror for the real thing. Let's take a look at this fictional story it cooks up.
Okay, so picture this. We've got a big, high stakes spy thriller. The hero, an Indian agent working deep inside Pakistan, trying to take down these complex terrorist networks. It's a classic setup, right? And this is where it gets really interesting. As you can see from this timeline, the fictional plot is carefully built on a foundation of reality. I mean, it uses real dates, real places like Pawama, and even really specific details like the 11 intelligence inputs. And get this, the fake movie even uses actual news footage of the attack. That's how it starts to blur the line between its story and our reality. So what's the climax of this imaginary movie? Well, it's a shocker. Our spy finds a recording that seems to implicate the highest office in the entire country. On this tape, the Prime Minister character, who they call Gobiji, seems to be conspiring with Pakistan's ISI, basically suggesting the attack would help him politically. It's an absolutely explosive and honestly a treasonous claim.
And this is the question where the whole analysis really pivots. Is this an anti-Pakistan film, or is it actually a piece of political propaganda aimed squarely at the Prime Minister?
And then the source pulls back the curtain. Operation Bawandal was never real. It was all a mirror, a rhetorical device that was crafted to show the exact same formula the source says the real film Dhurandhar uses. It's just pointed at a different political target. Okay, so now that we get the setup, let's get into the real core of this critique. The source argues that Dhurandhar's main weapon is this deliberate, calculated blending of what's real and what's made up, a technique it says is designed to mislead all of us in the audience. The argument kicks off with how the film was even marketed. The source points right to the trailer's tagline, based on incredible true events. By saying that, and then immediately showing real news footage and audio from the 26/11 attacks, the film basically primes you to lower your guard and just accept whatever comes next as the absolute truth. This slide gives us a perfect example of this technique in action. So the film apparently shows a real-life gangster and a real event, his death. But then, according to the source, it just injects a completely fictional Indian secret agent right into the middle of that story. And by doing that, it completely changes a historical event, leaving the audience with this dramatized version of reality. Hey, remember those 11 intelligence inputs from our fake movie? Well, the source brings that number back to call out a double standard. It claims the film uses real intelligence failures to hammer one government, but then conveniently ignores very similar failures that happened under a different government. It's like the scrutiny's only applied when it fits the political narrative. And that's the big question, isn't it? The source claims this is the question the filmmakers don't want you to ask. Because when you're caught up in a thrilling movie, those lines just blur. And suddenly, this fictionalized story can start to feel like gospel truth. And that's how it can shape your whole perception of real history. So, what's the endgame with all of this? According to the source, this whole blurring of fact and fiction, it's not just for dramatic effect. Nope, it's part of a very deliberate playbook that's designed to push a specific political message. To explain how the film supposedly gets its message across, the source introduces this idea of dog whistling. Basically, it's coded language. To most people, it sounds totally normal, maybe even innocent. But for a specific target audience, it carries a very different, often controversial meaning. And here are some of the things the source points to as dog whistles in the film. You've got stuff like specific religious chants being used instead of patriotic slogans, or really vague dialogue about those people causing riots. The source argues these aren't just random creative choices. It says they're coded messages designed to push an us versus them idea while still giving the filmmakers plausible deniability. This table here really lays out what the source sees as the film's central political bias. On one side, you've got the 26/11 attack, which happened under a Congress-led government. The film supposedly paints this not just as a failure, but as an act of treason. But then on the other side, you have the Pulwama attack under a BJP-led government, where the source claims similar intelligence failures existed, but the film completely ignores them. This is the big double standard at the heart of the critique.
And then the source brings out this classic standard. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. I mean, think about it. Accusing a government of treason, of letting its own citizens die for political points, is about as extraordinary as a claim gets. And the source argues that for a claim like that, the film offers compelling fiction, but absolutely zero compelling evidence.
So from here, the critique kind of zooms out. It stops looking just at the film's content and starts questioning the ethical responsibility of the people who actually made it, everyone from the director all the way down to the actors.
The analysis argues that it's not just the story, but how the story is told that's part of the problem. It apparently turns a real, brutal gangster into this stylish, cool character. And it presents extreme violence not as something horrific, but like a choreographed spectacle. The source says this just desensitizes the audience to real bloodshed. The critique doesn't pull any punches with the actors either. It uses this very harsh metaphor you see right here. The argument is that artists have a social responsibility. They can't just hide behind the excuse of, oh, I'm just doing my job, especially when they're part of a project the source labels as hateful propaganda. And this is where the source makes a really provocative historical comparison. It brings up Leni Riefenstahl, the filmmaker for the Nazi regime. She also famously claimed she was just an artist who was only documenting events. The warning here to this film's director is pretty stark. History, it argues, doesn't tend to look kindly on artists who put their work in the service of state propaganda.
And this is the final challenging question the analysis leaves us with. It's really a warning that the tools of propaganda, once they're sharpened and normalized, they don't belong to any one side. The standards being set today for what's okay in political filmmaking could, as it says, when the wheel of time turns, be used against absolutely anyone. It's a powerful thought about the responsibility we all have, both as creators and consumers of media. Thanks for joining us.